Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully you all are having a fantastic Thursday so far. Let me just check this real quick. All right, we're good to go. So let's see what we have here in the chat today. I'm going to go scroll up to the top. We have Oversteer, Caleb, Weather Nature, Kevin, Joyce. I don't know if Oversteer is still timed out. I'm not sure what Caleb did there, if Caleb timed him out or not, but he could still be timed out. I have no idea what Caleb did. But just know, Oversteer, you're not actually in trouble. Caleb's just being Caleb and, you know, accidentally timing people out per usual. We also have Star Goddess in here, Jackson, Weather Nature. Oh, there's Oversteer. Never mind. So Oversteer is good. Glad to see that. Grumpy Grandpa, Untitled, Blah, as well as Kaylee. Glad to see you in here, Kaylee. Definitely under the gun for severe weather out there in eastern Oklahoma. Although you're right on the edge of it. Right on that edge of our greatest severe threat for today. Also have Neighbor in here, Tony, Jefferson, and everyone else who's in the chat who is chatting, and I may have forgotten to welcome, or if you're just here and not chatting, glad to have you in here. Let's switch on over to our main scene. My little scenes have been a bit buggy recently, but it looks like they're alive today. Just a bit buggy on switching scenes there. So Haley, welcome to the stream. Johnny, like I said, ALT, glad to see you guys all in here again. And hopefully you're all having a great Thursday. We've got a lot of severe weather to talk about, a lot of stuff to go over, maybe a little bit of coverage here early on, and then kind of trying to separate this into two coverages. Although there is a chance, you know, we could be here all day. Just depends on how these storms end up going to the northeast, how they end up intensifying over the next hour or so. But so far, these have stayed relatively just low and severe, but we already have a tornado watch out here across portions of Iowa and Nebraska. So already a severe threat kicking off up there, and a lot of stuff to go over. That is for sure. Hello, Weather Nature. Glad to see you in here. Let's see. Let me go back up just a little bit. Yeah, Oversteer. Glad to see you're here. Never know. Caleb accidentally banned somebody once. Lag, welcome to the stream as well. ATR Media. Glad to see you guys all in here. All right, let's go ahead and drive. Almost said drive. Let's go ahead and dive right on into this severe weather threat for today. We've got a lot of areas of severe weather here across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, all the way back down to Texas and Oklahoma. There is currently almost 40 million people under the gun for severe weather today. And there is at least 5 million people under the gun for significant severe weather today, stretching across the hatched areas, which I'll show you in just a second. So, yeah, we have 3 levels today. We have our level 1 marginal, our level 2 slight, and our level 3 enhanced risk for severe weather. Obviously, that enhanced risk is where our greatest severe weather threat does exist today. So make sure you're weather aware if you are in especially the yellow and the orange area. Shouldn't see much activity in the green region. You should be pretty much fine if you're in that light green or dark green area. Do keep an eye on the chance for severe weather in the dark green, but really not going to see much severe storms in the dark green area. Main area today is that yellow and orange area you see on your screen. That level 2 out of 5 slight risk and that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather. And then we do have a pretty good tornado risk today. Today's tornado threat is uptrended quite a bit compared to yesterday. Today I wasn't really thinking it would be anything too crazy, but this morning everything really trended in the direction of an uptrend, maybe with the exception of wind shear, but really moisture uptrended, instability uptrended, clearing is way more present than I anticipated. Storms have fired a little bit sooner than anticipated up there in Nebraska, but that's not a big deal. But really everything is uptrended for the potential of tornadoes today. And because of that, they extended that 5% all the way up into southern Minnesota and that 5% all the way into almost Oklahoma City. They've also expanded that SIG 1 tornado risk into northern Texas, and they've added a 10% hatched area there, SIG 1 level over Wichita in the northern border of Oklahoma, north central Oklahoma, into south central Kansas. So tornado probs definitely have changed quite a bit of increase in those tornado probabilities across many areas, especially in Kansas, Oklahoma, down through southern Oklahoma and southern Minnesota as well. So just taking a little bit closer look here, I just wanted to show this here. This is our SIG level 1 that we have out here across Lawton, Oklahoma, back up through Oklahoma City. These areas in Oklahoma, you're under that 10%, 5%, and 2% SIG 1 risk. So that means that in this entire area that you see in the hatched area, the reasonable maximum intensity in this area is an EF2 tornado. So if a storm, really is able to fire and really is able to latch onto that dry line and fire on that dry line and take advantage of the environment, the reasonable maximum intensity is around an EF2 tornado. But a worst case scenario, I could see the potential for an EF3 tornado today. I'm a little surprised they actually didn't go SIG 2 today. Today is honestly a near perfect SIG 2 day for the potential of EF3 tornadoes. If storms do fire, we could be looking at a strong to intense tornado threat out here across central Oklahoma down to south central Oklahoma. So definitely be weather aware here and take note that, you're in the SIG 1 risk, right? So Lawton, Oklahoma, you're in the same opportunity for an EF2 tornado being possible as back up here in this 10% tornado risk. The big difference between that is if a storm fires in Lawton, it could be the potential for an EF2 tornado with it. Whereas back up here in northern Oklahoma, we're pretty confident in storms firing. So even though you're in that same category as the potential for an EF2 tornado, you don't have necessarily the exact same risk. There's a much higher chance for an EF2 tornado back up in like Enid, Oklahoma, and back towards Medford, Oklahoma, as opposed to Lawton. So please be weather aware across Oklahoma. Even if you're in that 2% tornado risk, be weather aware, especially if you're in that 5% and especially if you're in that 10%. But regardless, much of central Oklahoma under the gun for tornadoes today. And that also goes back up here into Kansas, a good chunk of eastern Kansas there, as well as into a few areas of southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, and northwestern Missouri. So honestly, like I said just a few minutes ago, I really wouldn't be shocked, and I'm kind of a little surprised that we don't have like a SIG 2 tornado risk out here for the potential of an EF2 tornado, as I think that's, or an EF3 tornado rather, for the potential of an EF3 tornado today, as that's really a possibility. That is actually a possibility. I'll show you in just a bit after we get through the rest of these hazards. Damaging winds today uptrended quite a bit. We now have a 30 SIG 1 risk. Just this morning, we had a 15% risk, no hatch. And today, now this afternoon, at the 1630Z update, which was just about little under 2 hours ago, about an hour and a half ago, they added the 30% contour and they added the significant contour here, the SIG 1 contour, which means wind gusts could approach 74 miles per hour or greater in that hatched area. And there's also increased confidence in damaging winds. Another thing, well, let me actually go up here a little bit more so you can see the rest of that outlook. That 30% extends into southern Iowa, 15% into the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and then the 5% wind risk all the way up into northern Minnesota. The hail risk is definitely going to be a problem today. I think hail is the main problem, followed by damaging winds, and then followed by tornadoes. They've actually added a 45 hatched risk here, 45 SIG 1 across portions of south central Kansas, including the Wichita metro. So you're looking at a very high probability of hailstones greater than 2 inches in diameter in this 45 SIG 1 area. And I'm pretty sure a SIG 1 is like hailstones. My word, it's been a while. I'm going to have to go look at it. I saved it, thankfully, because I knew I would be forgetful Steve over here. Hailstones equal to or greater than 2 inches in diameter possible if you're in that hatched area. So if you're in that 45 hatched area, you've got a 45% chance for those hailstones upwards of or equal to 2 inches of diameter there. Or equal to or greater than, sorry. Still getting used to it. Equal to or greater than 2 inch in diameter hail possible every 25 miles of a given point. 45% chance there, every 25 miles of a given point. Oh, Wophus is running today. Not a huge shock considering we have that 45 hail risk there. Let me just rephrase that one more time since I know I probably confused some of you guys. So say you are in like El Dorado, right? You're dead smack middle of that 45 SIG risk. So within somehow I keep managing to do that. So we're going to get our little measure tool out here. And we're going to go 25 miles of a given point. So very roughly in that entire area there, that 25-mile circle right there, that 25-mile circle, there's a 45% chance in that circle for a hailstone equal to or greater than 2 inches in diameter. See, I explained it very complicated. It's very easy. It's very, very easy. If you're in that circle, that's a 25-mile circle right there. Every 25 miles of a given point, there's a 45% chance of 2-inch hail or greater, which goes to show how high of a hail risk there is today. That's a fairly high-end hail risk. That is borderline a moderate risk for severe weather. So if we had greater confidence and larger hail, then this would actually be a moderate for severe weather. But thankfully, we're not looking at, very destructive hail greater than 3.5 inches in diameter. So thankfully, no moderate risk for today. I definitely agree with what the SPC has out here. I think it's a good call to have that 45 SIG 1 risk. And then elsewhere, you could see that hatched risk continues into northern Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, 15 SIG 1, even all the way down into Wichita Falls, Texas. And then also that SIG risk up into Omaha. A little surprised they didn't have that hatched risk a little bit further north, but, not going to disagree much there. There's a question mark on the northern extent of that greatest hail risk. So, they've covered the main risk, definitely. The main risk is definitely Kansas and Oklahoma for those hailstones. All right, now let me just quickly take a look here, and then we'll get talking about the other risks. I do want to reiterate here that tornado risk just briefly today for those of you who are just tuning in. We do have a conditional risk for an EF2 or EF3 tornado today across central Oklahoma into southern Oklahoma in that hatched area. Not as great of a risk for an EF3 tornado in this 10% area. The main risk for the potential of an EF3 tornado would be if any storms fire actually probably on the tail end of that 10 hatched area, because it's very, very conditional. Here you can see the 16Z HRRR. And if a storm like this fires, that would have probable intensity of EF2, maybe borderline EF3 potential tornado risk with that if it stays fully discrete. But this is what I'm more interested in, this stuff right here. If we could get a right moving supercell on the dry line tonight, close to sunset, that is where we'll have the potential for an EF3 tornado. And notice that is in the 2% tornado risk area. So that will have the greatest tornado risk if a storm fires. Now on to tomorrow's risk. We've got a slight risk. Yeah, not an enhanced risk. Almost said enhanced. We have a slight risk for severe weather. That's a level 2 out of 5 in the yellow, level 1 out of 5 in the green. A 2% tornado risk, non-hatched tornado risk tomorrow. So we're looking at mainly if anything does happen tornado-wise. EF0, EF1 tornadoes are going to be the biggest problem. I do think we will see a hatched risk tomorrow. I do think we will end up with a 5 hatched risk tomorrow, either in southeastern Oklahoma or maybe in like southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, western Mississippi. I think the 2 main tornado potentials tomorrow at this point is either in here or in here. So I do think we'll see a hatched 5% tornado risk at some point tomorrow, but a little unsure on exactly where. But the tornado risk will not be the main problem tomorrow. Damaging winds upwards of 70 miles per hour will be the main issue. And also large hail, which this is new. I don't believe this was hatched. I believe this is new. So large hail, actually the biggest problem for tomorrow. Hailstones a little bit greater than or equal to 2 inches in diameter. Here across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. So hail is the biggest threat, followed by wind, followed by tornadoes for today. Or tomorrow, my bad. Man, I'm just messing up all my wording. That is tomorrow's risk for severe weather. I do want to go check that MCD real quick that just got issued. Let's see. It's not fully out just yet. So we'll actually give that just a bit. Then we have day 3. Day 3, this is Saturday. A bit more of an uncertain day for tornado potential, but damaging winds I do believe will be a big problem on day 3. Wind gusts upwards of 80, maybe even 85 miles per hour possible if we do see those MCSs form across Oklahoma and Kansas. So damaging winds should be the biggest problem, followed by large hail, and then followed by tornadoes. Multiple spin-up tornadoes possible. Most likely, most of them will be brief and weak when without an isolated strong tornado. But mainly multiple brief weak tornadoes, damaging winds upwards of 85 miles per hour. And then large hail probably still could be an issue. Upwards of 2.5 inches in diameter will also probably be a possibility as we go into Saturday. That's the day after tomorrow. And you can see the risk area there. Oklahoma, again, have fun. Oklahoma, I know you guys were begging for some severe risks. Here's like 3-4 days in a row where you're under the gun for severe weather. So have fun with that. Be careful what you wish for. Because I know a lot of people on in the weather community have been wishing for Oklahoma to wake up. And here you go. Now that it's waking up, you're like, you know what? I don't like this anymore. Never mind. Never mind. I don't want severe weather in Oklahoma anymore. And then there's the other side of the Oklahoma community that's, never wanting severe weather. So here is your Sunday risk for severe weather. Yep, Oklahoma again. You're in the risk for severe weather. Not a hatched risk. A 30% risk for overall severe weather. This will most likely expand a little bit more to the east, northeast. I think the main potential is also going to be going more into Kansas, maybe a little bit more northwest as well. I think that will expand slightly in those directions I've drawn in white there. The biggest risk on Sunday really looks a little bit uncertain right now, but I would say probably hail, and then also damaging winds. Hail, damaging winds being the biggest issue, and then tornadoes will definitely still be a problem on Sunday, but I'm not 100% sure about the intense tornado threat. Definitely the potential for a few tornadoes on Sunday, 1 or 2 strong, and we might have that risk for an intense tornado threat if anything can fire on the dry line in eastern Oklahoma. We'll go a bit more in depth on that in just a minute. And then the big boy day. There's your big boy day. That is Monday's risk for severe weather. The risk has been expanded in almost every direction. It's been expanded east, it's been expanded southeast, it's been expanded northeast, it's been expanded north, northwest, west, southwest. I don't think it was expanded much to the southwest. I don't think we had much of an expansion on the southern end of this. but pretty much every direction except for south, this entire risk has been expanded. And then we have a bullseye target centered right over St. Louis, Missouri, Jefferson City, and Farmington, Missouri. There across central eastern Missouri into the border of west southwest Illinois, in the dead bullseye there for significant severe weather. And this is not the type of risk you want to be under. There's definitely for weather enthusiasts, you want to have some severe storms, but this is the type of risk that you don't want to play around with. We are with I can't English today, man. English difficult. You don't want to play much around with this risk for severe weather on Monday. If we continue to trend the way we're trending, this is easily day 3 moderate caliber. Very, very easily we could see a day 3 moderate risk for severe weather, for multiple strong to intense tornadoes being possible here across Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Definitely a very, very high end caliber risk where we are very easily looking at a moderate risk. And probably this is probably the highest chance for a high risk that we have had so far this year. Right now, if it keeps going this way, this is going to be the best opportunity we have possible for the potential of a high risk thus far this year. Very, very notable widespread tornado outbreak possible here as we go into Monday. So not obviously a high risk now as it's on the day 5 outlook. But very easily this could end up being a day 2, day 3 moderate, and if we continue to see trends like this, we could end up with that 5 out of 5 popping in here being a possibility. And I just want to show y'all real quick here what this looks like, because I was pretty shocked when I saw the 12Z GFS today. This is a signal that I can only remember a select few times in my weather enthusiast lifetime here. Day 5 outlook, I don't see this much often at all. This is the type of risk that you do end up with a day 1 high risk on. Very select few, like March 14th, April 2nd, March 15th last year, also December 10th, 2021. Just very few day 5 risks where I have seen signals like this 4 to 5 days out. Big time caliber risks for severe weather. I know one thing, definitely there is the potential for some morning convection. So this is not by any means, a perfect setup for severe weather, but if the GFS were to come to fruition, I do think it would be high risk caliber here across Missouri and Illinois. 71 dew points, 80 temps, 4,600 instability, nearly 200 surface to 1 kilometer shear, 350 plus surface to 3 kilometer. Great lower level curvature, mid-level curvature also good. Upper level, it's upper level. Good dew points, temperatures, not that dry in the lower level. So this is, like I said, a perfect risk for severe weather if on the day 5 model runs here. But if this were to come to fruition, actually, there may be a few little things, like you may have a little bit of overconvection that could help inhibit a very widespread tornado threat across like central Illinois. But this would definitely be a high in caliber threat for this entire region in here. Like I said, maybe overconvection limiting central and northern Illinois' potential there. And this is the GFS model run here. But I also want to show you the Euro, which is actually a higher end scenario, but still does have some concern for the potential of overconvection. You could see definitely a little bit of overconvection here up until 15Z, but that's not a horrible thing. If that overconvection is gone by about noon, then that can actually keep the temperatures from going too high up. And so you don't have as elevated of a profile. Your dew points are mid-60s and your temperatures are mid-70s, as opposed to your temperatures getting into the low 80s there across some of your open warm sector here for Monday. So I think the Euro, like I said, it has a little bit of an overconvection problem, just the tiniest bit. But then, golly, man, it's got a line of discrete to semi-discrete supercells right along and ahead of the cold front, all the way from probably eastern eastern Iowa all the way down to maybe central Arkansas there. Just a very, very significant look on the European model run. Again, hotspot, St. Louis, hotspot right there. Lower level jet of about 40, 45 knots over St. Louis here at 00Z. Then we have the Canadian, which has been an outlier thus far. But guess what? If we compare it, it's no longer an outlier. The Canadian has uptrended as well for the potential of a widespread, significant, severe weather event on Monday. You can see a little bit messier here on the Canadian. The Canadian definitely a little bit less of a high-end scenario. You get some over-convection across Indiana, Illinois, and even back into Missouri. So that would definitely inhibit the high-end ceiling coming to fruition here Monday evening. If we actually did see over-convection stick around. And the Canadian, not a very high-end scenario. This would probably barely be moderate risk caliber if this were to come to fruition. You still have a great lower level jet, a great mid-level jet, great upper level jet stream, plenty of defluence, a great amount of moisture. Your temperatures are not too high, but see how your temperatures are low? See how your temps are in the mid to low 60s? That's telling me you've got a big cool pool issue. Those temperatures should be in the mid 70s, not in the mid to low 60s here. So that definitely tells me that you've got a big cool pool issue here on the Canadian model run. Which again, it's not a Monday's not a slam dunk high risk. There's never a slam dunk high risk for severe weather with Mother Nature. But the Canadian is definitely one of those models that you kind of gotta, you don't want to take it into consideration because it's obviously an outlier, but for the sake of forecasting, you have to take it into consideration. Timing as of right now, definitely midday. It doesn't look like a nocturnal threat for St. Louis. I would say midday, probably roughly 5, right around 5 p.m. is the best general guess I could give. Between like 5 and 7. That's the best general guess I could give. But golly, man, you don't see that. I mean, wow. I can't even recall a signal like that. I think the last time I saw this was March 14th last year. 108 hours out. I'm not sure if even March 14th appeared up as a signal like that. That is insane. Get ready for a jump scare. Get ready for a jump scare. This is going to be your maximum supercell composite jump scare right here. Jump scare. Gracious day. Probability of supercell composite. I mean, you are at like 100% here. You are at 100%. There is a 100% chance of tornadic ingredients across southern and southeastern Missouri at 2 p.m. on Monday, according to this ensemble. 100% chance. When is there ever a 100% chance of anything with weather? That shows you how insane of a signal you have. And I mean, look at all of these. Let's zoom into St. Louis. Just zoom into St. Louis here. Let's see. Orange, supercell composite, red to orange, red to orange, red to orange, orange, maybe not as much red, red to pink, red to pink. I mean, you've just got, oh my goodness, look at that. That one's got purple on there. Getting up to 30 supercell composite. I mean, you are just, every single one of these is enhanced plus caliber right here. So, no kidding why they pulled the enhanced risk. Definitely a very good call by the SPC. I don't think anybody is disagreeing with the SPC on that outlook. And I've seen some questions about this extending. The only area I see this enhanced risk extending to right now is to the southeast. I wouldn't be surprised if that enhanced risk extends a little bit to the southeast. That's the only area where I really think that enhanced could shift a little bit to the southeast. As for further up to the north, you still have some uncertainty on that northern extent of your warm sector. So I don't think an enhanced risk further up into like Iowa is just yet needed. Back up into Iowa here for Monday. But Monday is by far the highest end threat that we're dealing with for this outbreak sequence. And Sunday looks meh now. Honestly, Sunday's jet stream looks considerably weaker on the new GFS. Your jet stream has really slowed down, which, by the way, would only increase the potential for severe weather on Monday. If your jet stream is slower on Sunday, that means it's going to be timed more perfectly on Monday. As you can see here, perfectly timed jet stream. This is 18Z 2 p.m. and you have a negatively tilted jet stream with a 50-knot mid-level jet in front. Now, if it slows down too much, it could be a problem, but really, I think we've uptrended for Monday and kind of downtrended a bit for Sunday at this point. Sunday could still be a big day for severe weather, but it's going to be relying off of pretty weak forcing for ascent. You're not looking at the strongest amount of forcing for ascent. You can see you do have defluence aloft here, but it's probably not the strongest defluence. You can see you do get a lot of convection in eastern Kansas, but that's not where the greatest risk for severe weather should be. You know, your greatest risk should be along that dry line cold front here in Oklahoma, Kansas. So, Sunday, the capping winds on the Euro, and Sunday, the capping winds, it looks like, on the GFS as well. So, Sunday easily could downtrend considerably to the point where severe weather is barely possible. However, global model runs are never that great at detecting initiation off of a cold front and dry line, especially a capped dry line. They are never great with detecting initiation on a capped dry line. And I still think Sunday's going to have severe weather. I think the global models are just simply being global models. So I still agree with the SPC with that pretty large 30% on Sunday. And then we go into Tuesday, and don't sleep on Tuesday, man. Tuesday is uptrending. Tuesday is uptrending. You've got a large belt of flow across the central U.S. You've got I believe this is a low pressure up here, and a high pressure down here just off your screen. High pressure obviously going the opposite way. Come on, dummy. High pressure this way. So this is creating a very good area of lift across the Central Plains, right along that front in Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee. And let's see if anything convex here. And you can see it's a full-fledged severe weather threat on the new GFS 12Z model run. So don't sleep on Tuesday. Tuesday definitely starting to increase with the potential of more widespread severe weather. That's April 28th. Then the 29th might be a bit more of a break day. You know, maybe not much on the 29th, just a few little spots. And then the 30th, we're right back at it. April 30th, boom, the Plains. May 1st, boom, Dixie Alley. Remember, yesterday I talked about it. Depending on how these troughs go, either Dixie Alley will be on April 30th or May 1st, one or the other. Yesterday, the GFS was showing more of April 30th. This is April 30th on yesterday's run, 24 hours ago. And then the new GFS is showing May 1st being the big threat. So, yeah, definitely be weather aware for sure on Monday. A lot of stuff can change, but right now Monday looks like a very considerable threat for significant severe weather. So don't full-blown panic because it's 5 days out. If this signal holds till day one, you still wouldn't want to panic, but it would definitely be some big issues, some big problems, that's for sure. But right now, it's 5 days out. What the heck? 6 days ago? Why the heck is a report from 6 days ago just popping up randomly on here? Weatherwise, got to fix that. I'm like, there ain't no storms in Illinois right now. It's like, it's clear skies out there, blue skies in Illinois. So, yeah, just be weather aware. You know, this is the fact that this is looking like a significant severe weather event, that should just be more reason to tell your family members and your friends about Monday's potential. All the wording that I said with the potential of like a day 2 moderate or a day 3 moderate risk if this keeps going, just know that, you know, at the end of the day, that should just show you the urgency that you need to prepare. You know, you need to already be preparing well in advance for Monday's threat because that's how big of a threat it looks like. And if you're prepared, you'll be perfectly fine. you will be perfectly fine on Monday if you are just prepared. Make sure you know where your safe spot is. Your family knows where your safe spot is. Make sure that safe spot is restocked on any type of food or drinks that you need in there. Make sure you have shoes in that safe spot if you don't plan on wearing shoes to your safe spot. And again, make sure you have multiple ways to receive watch list warnings. Your devices are going to be charged on Monday. Just those basic things. Do those basic things now and make sure your family members know to do those basic things now as we get closer and closer to Monday. Yeah, right now, I think Monday is an easy moderate. I think Monday is an easy moderate risk at the moment. A day 3 moderate, we'll just have to see how tomorrow looks. You know, we could start seeing downtrends tomorrow. A day 3 moderate wouldn't be issued until, if they do it, it wouldn't be issued until sometime on Saturday. Sometime on Saturday. It could be Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon if they plan on doing a day 3 moderate. And that's plenty of time for things to change. You know, that's almost a 48-hour window for things to downtrend or stay the same. So, hope, fingers crossed it just falls apart. That'd be awesome. I would love for that to happen if it just falls apart on the model runs. What if I don't have an underground shelter? If you still live in a sturdy home, your bathroom away from doors and windows in the most interior room of your house, lowest floor possible, with like a mattress over the bathtub while you're in the bathtub, or just a mattress over the door or something like that, most likely will be perfectly fine. But if we do get to day of, and we're looking at the potential for an intense to violent tornado threat, there's the possibility, especially if you live in a mobile home, that you're going to want to plan on like going to a hotel or a friend's house that's more sturdy, just in case. Especially, I wouldn't, you don't have to take that precaution if you live in a sturdy home. Even if your sturdy home doesn't have a basement, there's a good chance you'll be perfectly fine. But a mobile home is the biggest problem. Because if you're in a mobile home, something as weak as an EF0 tornado has the chance to even flip over that mobile home. An EF0, EF1 tornado can flip over a mobile home. So that is when I would be discussing, already I'd start to discuss, maybe we should get a hotel for Monday. No, a 1-day stay for Monday. If you live in or around that main risk area on Monday, which again includes millions of people. I know this is all easier said than done, that's for sure, but you know, this includes nearly 6 million people inside of this primary 30% risk for severe weather. I ain't gonna talk about no SIG 3 or Tornado Watch for Monday because we ain't even remotely close for that. I'll discuss, the only reason why I'm discussing a day 3 moderate is because a day 3 moderate, they could literally pull that trigger as soon as Saturday morning, which is roughly somewhere around 36 hours out. A Tornado Watch, man, we're still like 100 hours away from a Tornado Watch on Monday. So I don't know why we're discussing Tornado Watch probs like it's going to be something that happens soon. Let's see here. Let's go to... This is our current radar, and these storms, They're severe storms. We're just going to keep monitoring them. I've never been impressed with the northern mode for tornado potential. I do think the threat for tornadoes is going to be present later on in the day. Once we get closer to 5 o'clock Eastern, that's going to be when our tornado threat begins to increase a little bit more. I don't think these first storms are going to have that big of a tornado threat. The storms that we're dealing with now. Like I said, 5 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock. Here in about an hour and a half, 2.5 hours. That's when, closer to 5 Eastern. That's when things are going to start becoming a bit more of a tornado issue here. And then things grow upscale rapidly. And I still wouldn't rule out, QLCS spam, I think is definitely a possibility along this line as this line goes into Kansas City about 8, 9 o'clock Eastern. I don't think that's being mentioned enough. I know a lot of people just say, oh, it's a line, no tornado potential. No. No, not when you have an environment like what we have today, later on tonight here, where you've got supercell composite going back up to 7 or 8 as that lower level jet kicks in. 0 to 1 kilometer SRH at 300, 0 to 3 at 400 to 500. You definitely have the potential for some QLCS spam across the Kansas City Metro tonight at about 4, or not 4, at about 8, 9 o'clock Eastern. I would be watching for tornado potential across specifically the Kansas City, Missouri area. New HRRR, does it initiate? Oh, we get a blip. Does the blip survive? Debatable. The blip barely survives. But I don't know how I feel about tornadoes. Today's tornado potential. I really don't. I'm iffy on it. It's very conditional. Today, in my opinion, is a very conditional day, aside from the potential for QLCS spam on the line and embedded in the line, as well as the potential for at least a tornado or two on the tail end Charlie. But like the strong to intense tornado threat, in my opinion, today is fairly conditional. Maybe a bit more conditional than most are thinking. I believe NATOcast has a 15 sig today. Which is likely considerably well overdoing tornado probs, I'd have to imagine. NATOcast, once again, if you're new to the channel, it's something that we use quite frequently here on this channel. It does pretty well with sniffing out low-end target days. But like when you have high-end echelon events like today, I mean, this is the hail risk on NATOcast right now. This is not, I'll try to zoom out so you can see, this is not the absolute calibrated NATOcast. NATOcast literally just has a non-existent risk. Like NATOcast caps out at 60%, and here it is at a contour that doesn't even exist on their contour table, their legend. So, NATOcast definitely not the most accurate thing, that's for sure. It does better with sniffing out smaller targets. I'll show you the tornado risk as well. Let's see here. That's if I can get to it. So there's the tornado risk. You could see, again, the QLCS spam. That's probably going to be something that we deal with across the Kansas City Metro. Back into Illinois as well, or not Illinois, Iowa QLCS spam there. I don't agree with how far east it has this 5%. I disagree considerably with NATOcast having that 5% so far east. But back here you can see the clear bullseye there. It all comes down to any storms that are able to fire discrete. NATOcast is very confident in discrete supercells firing today. And then it has that random 2% back down there in Lawton, Oklahoma, for this storm being possible. But I don't know. I'm not as confident as NATOcast in today. It's going to be close, that's for sure. You could see where these two boundaries meet. Definitely right here. That's definitely your greatest potential for strong tornadoes today. Discluding the very, very conditional strong tornado risk in southern Oklahoma. If a storm fires and maintains, it could produce a strong tornado. But if a storm fires and it doesn't maintain, obviously nothing happens. So southern Oklahoma, excluding that very conditional risk. The main area is definitely southern Kansas into north central Oklahoma. Right where I have here circled in black. By far, the best chance for strong tornadoes today. Again, completely ignoring that conditional risk. So, fully agree, like I said before, with the SPC's 10%. I'm not as confident as NATOcast. NATOcast having that moderate for some reason. I think the SPC's 10% is much more fitting for a day like today. And then, like I said, maybe SIG 2 possible here across Oklahoma for the potential of an intense tornado, but I don't know, man. I just don't have enough confidence. The community seems to be going a little bit haywire here with the potential for multiple strong to intense tornadoes with the conditional risk, mind you, across Oklahoma. I'm not that confident in that occurring. Very much split on that. Oh, here you go. That new MCD from the SPC is out here. Yeah, so you could see, you guys probably noticed it. They started doing different peak probable tornado intensities today on MCDs. So they've changed the tornado peak probable intensity for some reason. Maybe that's to better correlate with SIG categories, SIG 1, SIG 2, SIG 3. But they definitely adjusted that. They definitely adjusted that on MCDs for sure. Pretty odd though. But anyways, if you're in this red area, tornado watch is likely to be issued here in the next 30 minutes. Yeah, really in the next 30 minutes or so, we should get a tornado watch in the next 30 minutes to maybe an hour across this red area here from northern Kansas all the way to northern Oklahoma. A few tornadoes, 1 or 2 strong, maximum hail of 2 to 3.5 inches in diameter, and damaging winds, a maximum of 80 miles per hour possible. A few tornadoes are expected. Do they mention a strong tornado threat in this MCD? South central Kansas and north central Oklahoma, the forecast guidance suggests that this corridor may be favorable for maintaining discrete supercells further north along the surface boundary. This is not word for word. This is roughly, because I'm just reading through it quick. Increased severe wind potential and a continued tornado and hail risk. You can see it there. If you want to read all this, you can. I just like to skim through it and summarize it for y'all. Makes it easier. Yeah, so they don't explicitly mention the potential for a strong tornado or two in here. But with the peak probable tornadoes being EF2, borderline EF3 today, it's obvious a strong tornado or two is possible today. New GFS come out? Man, you're like 3 hours from that, bud. I don't think that comes out till like 5 or 6. Roughly 5 Eastern. Because I know I make my 6 o'clock... when I do my 6 o'clock live stream, normally the 18Z GFS is done. So it's got to be near 5 Eastern when that comes in. About 2.5 hours. Yeah, Haley, your biggest day might be today out of this outbreak sequence. I think today's probably your biggest day. Sunday could be, but I think today's probably your biggest day for severe weather out of the next multiple days. Yeah, 12Z's finished, that's for sure. Yeah, 12Z's well done, man. 12Z GFS has been done for a very long time. I think we're down to just 1 severe, so these storms are dying off like the HRRR hinted. So if they get out of here quicker, the second round can be significant. Which is what we're expecting. We're expecting the storms now. If we go back here, storms right now here at 2:30, move off to the northeast, die out, and then our main show begins, near Omaha, north of Omaha. Right in there. That's where your main event will be. If you live in Iowa or Nebraska, that's the main risk area. Southeastern Nebraska, southwest Iowa. For Kansas, like I said, QLCS spam's definitely possible along that line. But the best risk for tornadoes in Kansas will for sure be back down here. Just off your screen. I'll show you that one more time here. Zoom out just a bit. Just right where those boundaries meet. Right where that boundary meets and that boundary meets. That's where your tornado threat will be the highest, which will be closer to sunset. Will be closer to sunset. Kaylee, it's hard to tell. It's another line that could go crazy for QLCS spam, like we saw in Tulsa in the middle of the night a couple days ago, about roughly a week ago. So it's just those random nocturnal events that sometimes go crazy and other times do absolutely nothing. But it's in the middle of the night. It's in the middle of the night. I mean, you're looking at probably, what is this? Midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. This is about 3 a.m. Central. 3 a.m. Central for the best opportunity for tornadoes across your area. I mean, the NAM model is actually in quite a bit of agreement here, too, so it's definitely possible for some nocturnal tornadoes there. So 60-mile-an-hour winds, half-inch hail, and the biggest problem definitely going to be those winds, but I think winds and tornadoes is the biggest problem, and then hail is the least concern. So 60-mile-an-hour winds, half-inch hail, and I think a few tornadoes, maybe even one strong, will be possible across this line in Oklahoma in the middle of the night from like midnight to 3 a.m. or so. Midnight to 3, 4 a.m. And again, the NAM shows something very similar to that, so pretty decent confidence there. Welcome, Jake. Glad to see you in here. Welcome to the stream. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit the like button on today's stream and share it with your family, friends, social media. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. If you want a briefing on the other risks for severe weather, I focused on that for about the first 40 minutes of this live stream. I'll go through them every now and then through the rest of this stream, but the main briefing was earlier. Now we're kind of just all over the place, to be honest with you. But the main thing is Sunday, just to kind of, if you're just tuning in, brief you on it. Main thing is Sunday is downtrended. Monday continues to uptrend. Monday has the potential for a moderate risk as soon as the day 3 outlook. And if it holds, definitely the potential for a 5 out of 5 high risk. If this trend does continue, you could see considerable uptrend has continued overnight and has trended to the west, which has resulted in a better jet stream and a better time to trough. Now, location for the greatest risk did move. We were thinking kind of West Tennessee, West Kentucky, Eastern Arkansas, Southeast Missouri, Southern Illinois. Now we're thinking more of Northeast Arkansas. That's a tornado warning that just got issued. Central Missouri into Eastern Missouri, Central Illinois, Southern Illinois. So earlier, yesterday, we were kind of thinking right in here for the biggest risk of severe weather. Now we're kind of thinking more of up in here for the biggest risk of severe weather. Not as far into Kentucky and Tennessee. We do have a tornado warning somewhere. It's going to be Iowa. Are we warning corruption? Wait, what? Holy crap, they just tornado warned corruption, guys. What the heck? Is there a report on here? That's corruption. But as this merges, tornado potential might increase small here. You could kind of see how this supercell is starting to merge with this supercell. As that merges, we could see a brief tornado. But that merger is going to take a hot minute. That's full corruption right now. I don't think this is rotating enough to produce a tornado imminently. I highly doubt it. Unless there's a chaser who's reporting something else, which is very much possible. I want to go to mesoanalysis, though, because this is not the best environment. You know, sometimes they issue these tornado warnings fully based off of radar. Other times it's fully based off of chasers. Other time it's a mix of the two. And you can see here they don't include anything of anything being reported. So, and I don't see any reports of a wall cloud. That's a very unfavorable environment. That is a very unfavorable environment, man. God's greatest tornado warning. Like, look at that. That's a garbage environment. And you've got 77 temps here. 77 temps. Or 76 temps, 65 dudes. This thing is a hailer. Now, there could be the threat for a brief weak spin up tornado at some point in this tornado warning, so you still want to be in your safe spot. But just from my standpoint here, you don't got to worry about anything too crazy. If you're in this tornado warning, it doesn't look like anything very concerning. Just be in your safe spot because it's a tornado warned storm. But again, nothing overly concerning. There's no good rotation here. This looks like a very, 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 very precautionary tornado warning. A very precautionary tornado warning. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, this is mainly a big time hail threat, isolated damaging wind threat. Wouldn't rule out a brief spin up tornado with this as it heads up towards Moorhead in west central Iowa. But again, background environment check, it's garbage. You have plenty of capes, so like I said, good hail environment, but you barely have lower level wind shear present here. We're on the edge of 50 to less than 50, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. You're on the edge of 50 to less than 50 of 0 to 3 kilometer SRH. You are misaligned from the lower level jet stream. Your profile here is a bit more elevated, 11 temperature degree dew point spread. Temperature dew point degree spread there. So definitely more of an elevated surface profile there. Again, we'll take a sounding right on it. I mean, you're looking at, shoot, apparently there's negative 28. Did you see that for a second? Now it changed. But apparently for a second there was negative wind shear at the 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. 12, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, and 86, 0 to 3. That's not very, very favorable wind shear. That might be enough to get you a little tiny wall cloud on a discrete supercell. Obviously, it's enough to get this thing to try to spin, because we do have a hook poking out here, so wouldn't shock me if we've got a little wall cloud at this point with this storm. So be in your safe spot, the background environment says that this should not do a thing, but there is the absolute smallest area of rotation here. I mean, we're talking very weak rotation, borderline, can't even call it rotation right here. So, like I said, big time hail threat with this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's producing hail a little bit larger than an inch in diameter. 60 mile an hour winds also possible with this. Wouldn't rule out a brief tornado. So again, be in your safe spot, Moorhead in western Iowa. Environment, once again, doesn't look great. But I mean, shoot, for the environment this storm's in, the storm is actually fairly impressive. If Sunday ends up mistimed, it's GG's. I mean, yeah, if Sunday ends up being mistimed, yeah, you're looking at a very, very high-end echelon event on Monday. So it's lose-lose. It's lose-lose. If Sunday ends up being a severe weather outbreak, well, then Sunday's a severe weather outbreak, and Monday will probably follow in the same path. If nothing happens on Sunday, then Monday ends up going insane. Yeah, but again, tornado warning active here across Moorhead in western Iowa. Just make sure you're in your safe spot. Not a very concerning tornadic storm. Pretty concerning for hail, lightning, and damaging winds. But the tornado side of this, not very concerning. Definitely got some better inflow winds here. A little bit of green with that, so. And latest scan that actually low-key, not gonna lie, is very impressive. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not fully buying that just yet. We'll have to give it another scan if that is indeed true rotation. The first one, this was full-blown corruption. Second one was corruption. This one might not be. Might not be. Yeah, they're continuing that tornado warning. Really good idea. Now I'm all aboard the tornado warning train here. The National Weather Service saw that before me, so yeah, that was a really good early heads up from the NWS. I didn't think this thing would try to do what it's doing now. My apologies, man. I'm just not used to a good National Weather Service. As bad as that sounds, a lot of the NWSs we go and we end up with a tornado warning, and then it ends up being reported on the ground, and finally 15-20 minutes later they end up going confirmed with it. So we're not used to NWSs that can issue such early heads up like this. This is a very impressive. It makes sense. This is one of the best National Weather Services. This is Omaha, right? I believe this is, yeah, Omaha. Omaha is one of the best NWSs. So I should have expected this to be an intensifying supercell. Omaha is literally one of the best NWSs out there. Yeah, Norman is also up there. Norman and Omaha are probably the two memorable great NWSs. Boston is the best. Isn't that the office that put out like that insane graphic with like 300 different colors trying to say the timing of when snow will start? I don't know about that, bud. 68 mile-an-hour wind gust over here in eastern Nebraska reported from this tornadic storm. Curious to see what the next velocity scan is. If it continues to increase, this could very well be producing a tornado at any given second. Let's see, we get 3-minute scans here, so we should get one in 6 seconds. Oh, there you go. They upgraded this to, is it upgraded? Hold on. Yep, 70 mile-an-hour winds observed. So observed 70 mile-an-hour wind gusts now with this severe thunderstorm. New reflectivity scan, but not a new velocity scan. New velocity will be in 15 seconds. Kansas City's pretty good as well. A lot of the NWSs are decent. It's just sometimes when there's a reported tornado on the ground and it's radar indicated, sometimes it takes them a hot minute to actually go from radar indicated to observed. But like yesterday, or not yesterday, whatchamacallit, in what is it? April 17th. There you go. April 17th. Last week. The NWSs on that day were on top of it, man. They were on top of it. Especially the Twin Cities NWS in southeastern Minnesota. And then the NWS La Crosse, Wisconsin. They were on, I think La Crosse is the one that was on fire. Absolutely crazy. On April 17th. Yeah, this storm, like I said, great heads up from the NWS, man. Even I thought that this warning was, I thought they warned corruption for a bit. Great heads up from this NWS. If there is a tornado on the ground, which there very well may be, it would be just a few miles, quite a few miles southwest of Moorhead here in western Iowa. Little area of rotation there. Yeah, but like I said, a lot of the NWSs, I'm not trying to be rude to the NWSs, they try their best, and it's really they do really good. They do a really good job. I've been one who is quite a bit vocal with how the NWS handles warnings. But, at the end of the day, they save lives and they do a great job. You're not gonna be perfect for every storm and every warning and every heads up. But man, they try their best. We did get a severe thunderstorm watch up here in Minnesota. As you can see there. Yep, Minnesota. Again, Minnesota and Wisconsin. Again. under the risk for severe weather. I really haven't looked up here much. I really don't know what if these are going to be doing anything. Yeah, just some scattered 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts up to 70 possible. Scattered hail up to like 1.5, maybe up to 2 inches in diameter. Let me see what this says here. Yeah, up to ping pong sized hail possible. 70-mile-an-hour winds possible for just under 5 million people. And then wouldn't rule out a brief tornado. I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado. Yeah, so still rotation present. Like I said earlier, it is on a bit of the weaker side of things. For one scan, it was strong. So this one, it was corruption. This one, it was borderline corruption. This is when it was actually strengthening. And then this is when we could have had a tornado. Wouldn't surprise me if we had a brief spin-up tornado here. And that right around that vicinity, north of River. I want to say, let's see. I want to say that's like Sioux. I don't know how you pronounce that. But yeah. Western Iowa. Southwest of Moorhead. There's Moorhead. Well, southwest of Moorhead. Yeah, like I said earlier, that's definitely one of the more impressive tornado warnings I've seen. Because it's not often when the NWS can spot a merger like that happening. I mean, that was a S tier tornado warning right there. Not even I saw that at first. Ooh. A little bit early initiation out here. We should get a tornado watch very, very soon. I'd imagine very, very soon here. Let me go ahead and show you, if you guys are just tuning in here, that red area you see on screen. Northern Kansas down to northern Oklahoma, you're going to be under a tornado watch fairly soon. Should be within the next about 38 minutes that we end up with a tornado watch there. Houston's not the best NWS, but they're still really good. You know, they're still good at what they do. Again, it's difficult to catch every storm. But, you know, Houston hasn't been horrible with my experience, like, personally. From what I've seen and from what I've tracked down near that NWS, it definitely hasn't been a horrible NWS. Now, North Platte, I'm sorry, but you forever got that record right there. NWS North Platte. Yeah, there's pretty inexcusable for there to be a tornado on the ground for so long. I mean, what was that? North Platte had like a violent tornado on the ground in their jurisdiction, and they didn't even confirm it for multiple, like a hot minute. I forgot the exact time. I had all the stats up and everything when it happened, and I made multiple posts on it, but it was not a good situation, that's for sure. That's for sure. To put it in perspective, a National Weather Service in Omaha was being added. So NWS North Platte was the jurisdiction of where the violent tornado was ongoing. The intense to violent tornado was ongoing. And people were starting to at Omaha about it. And Omaha added the National Weather Service in North Platte. It was one of the most stupidest things I've ever seen from the National Weather Services. So that shows you how good Omaha is. Omaha's over here telling the other NWS that they've got, you know, a clear intense to violent tornado ongoing. It was almost 30 minutes, yeah. And then you have some other scenarios like Mount Holly, NWS Mount Holly, PDS tornado warning observed for no tornado. Dang, that was a doozy. Y'all remember that one in southeastern PA? And then we had the Tor E with I don't know if it was no tornado. Was it a Tori with no tornado in northern Arkansas, or was it a Tori with a weak tornado in northern Arkansas? Then we had the Tor E in northeastern Texas with a weak tornado. That was like an EF0, EF1 tornado. They Tor E'd it. And I think northern Arkansas, we had a Tori with no tornado. Mount Holly had a PDS tornado warning with no tornado. So, like I said, the NWS has their fair share of issues, but we're all human at the end of the day, you know. You're gonna have you're gonna make mistakes eventually, especially when you know you're a branch that continues for 50 plus years. How cooked am I from 1 to 10? Well, a lot of people in chat like to say, how concerned are you from a 1 to 10 for a said risk day? At this point, right now, Monday is like a 9 for me out of 10. 8 or 9 out of 10. Monday is by far the most concerned I've been for an event this whole year. When we were about 3-4 days out for April 17th, that was like a 7. I was about a 7 concerned for that event. So this one, I'm like 8 or 9. That's right now, though. Tomorrow, that could go back down to like, you know, that could go back to 7. More concerning than 314. 314, see, you gotta look at 314 the way how it was a signal, not the way how it performed. 5 days out for 314, yes, it's right there with 314. But the performance of both events are going to be vastly different. I could tell you that. Is it generally the same concern as what I was for 314 last year? Yeah. But again, performance is probably going to be, most likely will be vastly different. So I don't want you to think it's going to be another March 14th all over again. I don't want you to think like that. Just that's the type of signal we have for that day right now. So by zero means am I saying it's going to be March 14th all over again. No two events are alike, ever. End of discussion. Mother Nature can never do the same thing twice. In terms of two events. Now, despite controversy, lightning can strike the same area twice. So, you know, there is some things Mother Nature could technically do twice, but in terms of a full-scale severe weather outbreak, it can never have an exact repeat. Oh yeah, there's definitely bust modes for Monday. We don't have a clear idea of how many, but I can already tell you 3 things. 1 is overconvection. 2 is the timing of the trough. 3 is an overmixing issue, more elevated issue. Find some wood. Got wood right next to me. There you go. Knock on wood. Do you think a high risk for Monday? Like I said earlier, right now, Monday is moderate caliber easily. I'm pretty comfortable with saying a moderate risk is likely for Monday if we continue to hold the way that we're holding right now. Which, I mean, I said that for April 17th, and then we ended up with a day 1 moderate. So I'll say for this one, too, for Monday, I think a moderate's likely. I don't know about a high risk. I think a high risk is for sure on the table, but you know, high risks, those are reserved for the upper echelon events. We didn't even have a high risk on March 14th, 2025, because there was some bust modes available where March 14th could have easily underperformed and not even performed as a moderate. But as we know, March 14th performed as a high easily. So a high risk also takes into consideration the bust modes a lot more. A moderate, yes, they definitely take into consideration the bust modes, but a high risk, really, for a high risk, you've got to look, what is the probability that this risk underperforms drastically? And that's what they looked at for March 14th and ultimately decided not to end up pulling a high risk. You know, they probably looked at the environment and everything, analysis, of course, and the bust modes. We had like 3 or 4 bust modes that easily could have helped underperform March 14th. But again, none actually did. And then for this event, like I said, we already have 3. I can already spot 3 bust modes 5 days out. So it just depends by the time we get to day one. What bust modes look most likely. Let's see. Yes, Jake, the beginning of March 14th was underperforming, and I even said that it was underperforming whilst we were streaming it. Towards the beginning of the day, it was underperforming. Until, I would say probably near when that lower level jet kicked in, right? It had to be closer to like 6 o'clock Eastern. That lower level jet, man, it just kicks in like crazy. And that's been the case for 2025, too. When that lower level jet kicks in, man, it ever kicks in. Tracy, here's the thing. A lot of people in the weather community base how high end of event as possible off the categorical risks. So to put it in perspective, obviously Monday, like I said, it's already an enhanced risk and we already know that there's a chance for a moderate. So people know, okay, Monday's probably going to be serious since I'm saying there's the potential for or a likelihood for a moderate. That in a very simple way helps people know that it's likely going to be a serious event. Instead of me going through the jet stream, the instability, the soundings, the ensembles, the deterministics, every other model run that I have available, going through in depth with meteorology of it, looking at every single model run and product on each one that we have access to, I can just simply say a moderate is likely. I don't have to spend a whole hour breaking it all down. But I still do like to break it down, you know, like towards the beginning of this live stream, I spent about 20, 30 minutes on it. Let's see. If trends hold, there's no way of a high risk. If trends hold, there's no way of a high... Are you looking at the same trends that I am? Here's your trend in the last 24 hours. Are you looking at the same trend I am, or like what? Because these new runs are the most aggressive bunch that we have seen for this setup. So yeah, I mean, if trends continue, it's for sure a possibility. I mean, yeah, Tracy, I get that. I know a few people in the community who just don't talk about SBC outlooks beyond day one. But, you know, if you don't like talking about SBC outlooks beyond day one, why are you talking about the SBC outlook on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6? Why are you even mentioning Monday then? So, you see, you got to include the SBC. You have to. You can't just get rid of the most accurate site out there. You know, you can't just say, I don't feel like discussing outlooks just because. You're getting rid of the most important aspect of meteorology, the professionals, the SPC, the people who have the most experience with weather. You're just, nah, I don't want to discuss it. So that's why I get where you're at, because I was like that last year and I was like that in 2023. But now I'm more open to discussing it. See, now the SIG risks, I'm a little bit less comfortable getting into the details of it. Like, I don't really like to get into the details of, like, what probabilities, what could be, you know, what could be the probabilities of the wind, the hail, the SIGs, the tornado watch probabilities. I don't really like getting into all that because it makes people too focused on specific areas and not focused on the broader picture that it's going to be a big event. Few tornadoes likely with a couple intense tornadoes possible. Very large hail of 3.5 inches likely. Significant wind gust of 80 miles per hour possible. So I'm going to have to change the title then. Because they are saying 3.5 inch hail likely. So you know me, I'm going to have to up it to 4 inch hail possible. Because if 3.5 inch hail is likely, could get some hailstones up to 3.5, 4 inches in diameter. Switch that to 4, switch that to 4. My 80 mile per hour winds possible was dead on. So I predicted that part. And 4. Well, wait, what do you... Hold on. 60-30? Low-key significantly lower than I was expecting. Anybody else? I was expecting a 60-40 or maybe even 60-40. I wasn't really expecting anything higher than a 60-40. Holy stutter. I wasn't really expecting anything higher than a 60-40. I was thinking 60-40. Because it's a 10 sig day. Wow. Wow. That is insane. 10% less than our violent MCD, by the way. Yeah, the biggest outbreak of the year only had a 10% less tornado watch prob than this. Which, by the way, I think there's like 110 tornado reports now on that. How many reports do we have on the 17th? 121. Golly. Holy crap. That's insane. That QLCS spam put in insane work across central Illinois, man. Look, there's just a huge blob of red right there. Reports-wise, it's the biggest reports-wise tornado event of the year. But our biggest reports was over 900. Setback on March 15th, I believe. I want to say it was literally March 15th this year. Was the biggest severe day so far, reports-wise. Yeah, 921 was our biggest report day from wind, hail, and torr combined. But April 17th, 2026 now leads for the biggest tornado day of the year. Yeah, this storm falling apart quickly. See, this is what I expected it to be the entire time. But instead, for, you know, three scans or so right in here, it tried to produce a tornado and very well could have produced a tornado. Like right in here. But now it looks like it's done. Which I never thought it was going to have a chance, but it did. Which surprised me quite a bit. So Tornado Watch is now out. Does that include any of Oklahoma, y'all? Oklahoma is not included in that Tornado Watch for today. So if you're in Oklahoma, you're not under a Tornado Watch yet. You guys will be put under a watch later tonight. Yeah, so all that really means is that simply means that, you know, they're not expecting storms to pop off in Oklahoma at the same time as Kansas. That's simply all it means. That's all it means. Yeah, but yeah, so simply just a little bit later initiation in Oklahoma than Kansas. Oklahoma, you guys might start seeing storms at like 6 o'clock Eastern. But anyways, what I was wanting to say right there was this probably could get away with a moderate risk today. I know. Don't start attacking me just yet. But look at the wording here. This could get away with a moderate. We go here. Right. Oop. Softball-sized hail likely. That's moderate risk wording right there. That's moderate risk wording for hail. So today, low-key could get away with a moderate risk. Also, 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts likely, too. I don't think that's not moderate risk wording because a moderate risk has to have a SIG 2, which means 84-mile-an-hour wind gusts or greater. So I don't think the wind would be moderate worthy today, but definitely the hail. They could get away with a moderate risk if they hatched this. But personally, in my opinion, I'm actually not... I don't think a moderate's needed, although the wording definitely is, in my opinion, moderate risk wording caliber. I don't think it's actually needed. Because if these storms grow upscale at all, or they don't, they don't be clustered or don't be discrete, and they just end up being more linear, that hail threat's definitely not going to verify. But if they were to go moderate, it would for sure be extreme southern Kansas into northern Oklahoma. Maybe not even into Oklahoma. Maybe just extreme southern Kansas. And we have an outlook here in 50 minutes, so who's to say they're not going to go moderate, They could, if they have increased confidence now in large hail in southern Kansas, we very well could see a moderate for only hail. I want to make that clear too, by the way. Definitely not seeing a moderate for Tor. No way. I didn't get to watch Trey's entire video. I watched like the first 10 minutes. And then I had to eat and get ready for stream. I would have liked to watch a little bit more to see if he was very confident on that dry line initiating. He said his personal confidence increased more. But I'm probably not at the same confidence level as he is on this dry line initiating. Oh no, it's not too late, that's for sure. Storms in southern Kansas won't get going until 6 o'clock. So, it's definitely not too late for a moderate. Only for hail. Let's see what the new HRRR has. But see, then you have models like this that absolutely kill the hail threat. You probably wouldn't be seeing hailstones greater than 3 inches in diameter for this. So, like I said earlier, if it stays full linear like that, goodbye to your hail threat greater than 2-3 inches in diameter. It just depends on that northern risk. These storms up here at this point would have a better risk of producing 3-inch hail than the storms further south. So, their wording on the watch is moderate risk worthy for severe weather for hail, but personally don't think they're going to pull it. And then boom, there you go. There's the HRRR still initiating a supercell with 3+ inch hail potential there. At least in that environment, I would assume it would have the potential for 3+ inch hail. But that's in Oklahoma, not in Kansas. I don't know about today's Tor potential, man. I'm not too impressed by it. I think hail's going to be a big problem at first with these storms as they fire on the dryline cold front. Damaging winds will be a problem as things grow upscale. Embedded QLCS tornadoes are probably going to be the biggest thing today. Honestly, embedded QLCS Tor potential is probably going to be the biggest problem. Let's see. Yeah, HRRR has had storms firing in Oklahoma. Only like 2 runs, though, have actually had them being mature in central and southern Oklahoma. Like, the HRRR has consistently fired something in Oklahoma. You could see just Most of it weak, weak. Supercell, weak, weak. Supercell, weak. Nothing actually. Nothing. Weak. Nothing, 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 nothing. So from this run and on, 13Z where it fired a supercell, from that run and on, it's fired something out there. Just most of the time it's been weaker on the runs than not. Saturday's SPC outlook looks like an egg. Let's see this. Close all this stuff out first. Let's see Saturday. I could see that. I could see that. Most likely the tornado threat's going to be greatest just after 7 Eastern. I think right when the lower level jet starts ramping up. Somewhere between like maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock. Yeah, StormNet, which I know a lot of y'all have really been using recently, really highlights between 6 and 9 or 6 and 10 Eastern for the greatest tor potential. But it's also worth noting that StormNet barely highlights Oklahoma at all. It really only highlights portions of northern Oklahoma. What does the RRFSA have today? 17Z is in. Of course it initiates a supercell. A brief one, though. Not a very long tracked one. Just a brief supercell from 8 to about 9, 9:30, and then it dies off. And then, yeah, like I said, once this line starts up, about 7 o'clock, QLCS tor increases. QLCS tor potential increases. No, that's not necessarily a left mover. Nah. This one here is a left mover. That's a left mover. Moving due north-northeast like that. This one is moving east, barely northeast. Not a left mover there. It does kind of look like a left mover. I see what y'all mean by that, though. On simulated reflectivity, it looks like a left mover. But here again, I'll show you the HRRR. 16Z. This is the one that had the left mover. You could see that clearly southern one becomes a right mover. Left one on the top there becomes clearly a left mover. Left movers are most frequent when they split. A northeast moving storm doesn't necessarily mean it's a left moving storm like that. Left mover storms, there's a reason they call them left movers, because there's a right mover. So most frequently and most often, that's going to be actually when a storm splits. Yeah, Tracy. I don't know if storms, even if they do fire, I'm not sure if they'll be able to sustain long enough to even produce an intense tor. It might have like an hour window to try to drop a strong tor. So, I'm 50-50 on a SIG 2. I'm 50-50 on a SIG 2. Today. Just curious to see what the SPC has to say about it when they issue that MCD sometime later today. Yeah, so new outlook here in about 40 minutes or so. I don't expect any big changes even though the wording on the watch is moderate risk wording. This says 3.5, but I showed you guys earlier, they actually said 4-inch hail. They said softball sized hail, which is 4-inch hail or greater. So 3.5, 4-inch hail likely today. Let me check that area. You're in northeastern Oklahoma. Your main threats tonight, just be aware for the potential of 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, and a brief tornado. Probably after dark, unfortunately. So you're looking pretty late, probably 10 o'clock or so, maybe even a little bit later. Main risk is definitely damaging winds, but can't rule out a tornado or two. You are in that 5% risk, so you're almost in the highest tornado risk today. New severe storm here for areas you see on screen in southeastern Nebraska. Just make sure you are indoors, away from doors and windows. You'll be fine. A violent torrent MCD is not necessarily SIG 3 unless it is only a violent torrent MCD, like if it is a pink violent torrent MCD. But the MCDs that we had on like in Illinois, Wisconsin on April 17th, those were SIG 2 because their peak intensity was EF3 to EF4. But if you get a pink probable hazard type, which is typically violent tor EF4 plus, then yeah, that is SIG 3. But we haven't gotten one of those this year. We don't see those often at all, but they're just as rare as a high risk. They're just as rare as a high risk. Roughly, I'd say we see them, roughly 1-2 times a year. I can't even recall seeing one last year. I do recall seeing one sometime in Iowa, but I can't remember if that was in like 2024, 2023, 2025. I don't know what year it was. I just know it for sure wasn't this year. No, Sam, it's 60-30, I believe, right? Yeah, 60-30. Yeah, pretty sure Lake. 175 plus for Tylertown 2025. Was that in... Refresh me where that was. I think I know where that was, but I don't want to say it because I'll be dead wrong. Ever seen a day 8 SPC outlook? Yes. I thought so. I thought it was March 15th, Southern Mississippi. That's what I was thinking. Yep. That's why you saw me scroll down to Mississippi, because I was looking for that town name. But yeah, I have seen a day 8 15% severe risk. I've never seen a day 8 30% severe risk. I don't think they'd ever issue that. Typically, like the earliest you're going to see a 30% risk is on the day 6 outlook, which we had yesterday for Monday. They actually could have gotten away with a day 7 30% risk, but they wanted a little bit more confidence between the model runs before they pulled it. Jake, I'm sure there has been, but I can't recall any obvious ones. I'm not very good at recalling the day 4 through 8 outlooks of any severe weather sequence. A day 8 30% would be very, 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 very absurd. That could be something that, you know, we eventually get to sometime in the next century or two, maybe. You know, expand that to day 1 through 10 SPC outlooks. Then we could start having day 8 30% and even up to day 10 15% when technology gets considerably better. Maybe start starting putting a bit more AI into things. But I know they're starting already. They're already starting more with AI, and it's proven to be quite accurate, especially for hurricane season. But now they're testing StormNet, which is probably the most accurate AI severe weather tool. Day 5 high. Maybe in 1,000 years that will be a possibility. Maybe. Maybe technology will get that good. If the Earth's even still around. I think, do you think Monday a day 3 moderate could be a day 3 moderate is what I'm assuming you were trying to say. That's why I couldn't comprehend that. Yes, but it's got to hold the trend at where it's at. Last time I said this was for the April 17th event this year, and the trend was downtrending. It trended towards a crashing cold front, and so a day 3 moderate was not even close to needed. And then we didn't even need a day 2 moderate, and then finally day 1 they pulled the trigger on the moderate. So if we stay at the trends that we're at and keep going the way that we're going, I think it's a very real possibility. Only time will tell if we keep on going with the same trend, though. It's only a matter of time before a downtrend starts, or just till time keeps on going, we eventually get to Saturday morning where they may or may not pull that day 3 moderate. Monday, probably in the afternoon. I'd imagine somewhere near 3 o'clock Eastern. Most of the time, it's midday. It depends on the trough. It depends on that trough. Because if we go here, if it's close to like what the Euro has here, which way am I going? I'm going this way. Like the Euro, your main trough really kicks up here. You could see at 3, 4 o'clock. So you may not get notable initiation across that open warm sector with supercell potential until 3, 4 o'clock. Yeah, you can see the Euro really starts about 4, 5 o'clock for supercell initiation there. Really focusing on this corridor. But like the GFS might have it a little bit sooner. Yeah, see if that trough is this negatively tilted. I mean, this would result in earlier initiation. The problem is this is so early that it might actually just be over convection. And it might help take out that warm sector. But if it does happen this early, you could start seeing supercells on that cold front even as early as 8 a.m. So it depends on the timing of that trough. If that trough is more amplified and sooner, initiation could be closer to when the sun starts to come up closer to 8 o'clock. But if that trough is less amplified, then initiation may be held off till 4 o'clock. CSU is just not that good. We keep looking at it and just using it as another tool in the toolbox, but it's never been great. Like I said in one of my other live streams, I do like it for the day 4 through 6 time frame, which you can see here is day 4 for Sunday, day 5 for Monday. It has back-to-back moderate for both of those. But day 1, day 2, day 3, I've never found any of those to be accurate. And then day 7 and day 8, I've also found to be inaccurate. So really, only like day 4, 5, and 6 are really the only days that CSU seems to be okay at. But even then, it's definitely not the best. Nothing beats the Storm Prediction Center. And then you have NSSL, which already has a moderate for today. An enhanced for tomorrow. Moderate for Saturday. Moderate for Sunday. Tiniest little moderates right above my cursor for Monday, too. And then it already has an enhanced for Tuesday, enhanced for Wednesday. So this tends to overdo severe probabilities from what I've seen. It's not that bad on the bullseye. Like, for instance, where you see here, this is a very good bullseye right in here for the potential of the greatest significant severe weather threat. But it tends to overdo severe probabilities and also overextend severe probabilities. Like, it has an enhanced into the border of Minnesota and Canada. Imagine if you looked at the SPC and they had that enhanced risk all the way up to the border of Minnesota and Canada. That thing is not going to verify. I could guarantee you. So, NSSL, not that great either. It's okay. Once again, it's okay. Not great. Just okay. StormNet is great. StormNet is great. But I don't have permission to show that, unfortunately. I could probably try to get it, but I haven't attempted to. Yeah, more severe storms starting to pop off now. A little bit earlier than I was thinking here. I was thinking closer to 4 or 5 o'clock. 3:30, these severe storms are popping off a little bit more than I was expecting. Posted the Tor Watch for Kansas again. They did, but the wording didn't change. Still 80-mile-an-hour winds likely, softball-sized hail likely, few tornadoes likely. Yeah, it still looks like the exact same thing. I don't see anything that's changed. Maybe it was a typo somewhere. Let's see here. Yeah, StormNet is already... StormNet's been ringing the bell for a moderate potential ever since definitely yesterday, but I believe even the day before that it was starting to ring the bell on moderate potential. Like I said, you could just go to StormNet on Twitter. That's the easiest way to see the main probability. And here's the one for Monday. Which... The thing is, like that, the orange that you see there, that's not very rare when you go into day 1, day 2, especially day 2. But on like a day 5 outlook or like yesterday, which was like a day 6 outlook, it's more rare. But yeah, this thing started hinting the potential for a pretty high-end event back on April 22nd, which was yesterday. Yesterday morning. And it was even starting to highlight notable tornado potential on April 21st. And it's just continuing to get on a stronger and stronger signal. And it's had a very good signal for April 30th as well. Yep, StormNet is pretty much just NATOcast on steroids. That's probably how I would explain it. GR2 is awesome. Yeah, it is. First time you have it, I love it. Don't use it that often for these lower end days, but when it comes to stronger, intense tours on the ground, it is the best radar software. And it's one-time payment, which you can't beat. Also, mess around with the 3D product because you'll have a blast with that, especially the more of a weather nerd you are, the more you're going to love it. Definitely mess around with all this stuff in here. Screw up your settings. Place files haven't worked very well for me on GR2. They always tend to be buggy for me, but they might work better for you. I just look at their website. Yeah, you could also just look at the StormNet website too. Which, if you go to, let's see. I'll just give you a link to that too, because sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find the exact link that you want. There's the actual website. NATOcast hasn't been great this year. I'll be honest with that. You know, NATOcast really fell off. It really did. Like it seemed like NATOcast was the best thing in 2024. Seemed like it was pretty good in 2025, and now it's like, eh. Yeah, people are barely even looking at it. RRFS is gospel. Okay, buddy. That thing's garbage. I still use it, but that thing's garbage. Not quite as bad as the NAM 3K though. I will say that. I think the NAM 3K is worse. But RRFSA, I think like I found it to be actually a bit accurate day of, to be honest with you. And when I looked at it on April 17th versus verification, it actually wasn't horrible. But day 2, day 3, day 4, yeah, it's going to get worse. But it wasn't atrocious on day 1. Like I said, not as bad as NAM 3K. NAM 3K, that thing's horrible. I think the RRFSA would be a lot more accurate if it only went out like 24 hours or like 18 hours like the HRRR. If it only went 18 hours out like the HRRR, I think the RRFSA might have a chance up against the HRRR. Keyword is might. But because it goes longer out than that, it ends up being one of the worst models out there. Especially beyond that 24-hour time frame. Tornado warning in southeastern Nebraska. Little tiny area of rotation right there. First thing I'm going to go do, check the environment. Ooh. I guess all you need is 29 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. Man, if that gets tornado one with 29 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, how come my 100 to 150 0 to 1 kilometer SRH here in North Carolina did absolute nothing? I swear, wind shear into plains is just built different. And then when it gets to the Appalachians, it's like you need a minimum of 500 to get a tornado. Because it's Virginia. Very, very, very good comment right there. I wonder if there's a little hot spot. VTP, no big hot spot there. You can see once we get to 4 and then 6 hours out, that hot spot, southwest Oklahoma, right along the dry line. But see how in the 2 to 4 hour time frame, see how that kind of pushes west with the best ingredients, and then big time in the 4 to 6. Watch that. 4, 6 hours. That's called a retreating dry line, which is not favorable for severe weather. If your dry line is retreating, that actually does not create rising motion. That's a retreating dry line. Now, if it is progressing eastward, like you could see between the 0 to 2 time frame in southern Kansas, north central Oklahoma, that's going to create a little bit of rising motion. Now, it's not creating a lot of rising motion, which is why there's no notable tornado threat out there across southern central Oklahoma. But once you get into northern Oklahoma, there's a bit better opportunity for those storms to fire. HRRR for tomorrow, and it shows that one area I called out earlier in the live stream for the potential of a 5 sig tour across southeast Oklahoma. Shows a few supercells there. So I think tomorrow evening we will have a decent risk for severe weather across southeast Oklahoma. But the NAM is not on board with that. Let's go check the RRFSA. It's just rendering in now. Actually can't. April 3rd, April 4th. Hold on, Nightbot deleted that. 1974 as an analog. I think a sounding showed that. I saw that. Who said that? I forgot who it was, but somebody said that on Twitter. I saw it this morning on my feed. I was like, pfft. Yeah, right. I've seen a lot of analogs for Monday. A lot of people have posted a lot of analogs, and most of them are not actually decent analogs. Yep, you used 4 emojis. I think the limit is 2. 1 or 2 is the limit for Nightbot. Yeah, so still a tornado warning out there across southeastern Nebraska. Make sure you're in your safe spot if you're in that warned area. Just be in your safe spot. You'll be good. Once again, if you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button. Share this stream with family, friends, social media. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all. We'll be live probably daily here on out for just talking about these risks of severe weather. Tomorrow, we'll have to see if it's going to be coverage or briefing. If it's coverage, it's going to be a little bit later. But if it's a briefing, I might do it a little sooner. So I think tomorrow we'll probably be good with doing a 6 o'clock live stream. Unless things change exponentially, which is possible. It was Sam. Oh, he must be followers farming over here. He's view farming. Yep. Yeah, he definitely is. For sure, engagement farming. Look at these tweets. Oh, heck yeah. My guy's trying to grow a following right now. Oh my word, you actually call April 17th a super outbreak? Sam, what? Hold on a second. Is that real? I might need to clear my eyes for that one. I think the way you called that a super outbreak. You gotta chill on that, man. That's borderline misinformation. I think that is misinformation right there. Pretty sure that is that GIF that's like when I purposefully spread misinformation on the internet. That's Sam. Sam's like that right now. He's just trying to get some engagement up right now. That super outbreak one though, bro. I think that one's just actual misinformation on that. The others are like, clear engagement farming, and then you just have blatant misinformation. That's crazy. That's wild, bro. Dude, you actually... What is with it with people comparing Monday to December 10th, too? Why are we thinking... Why are we thinking April 27th is similar to December? And I don't mean to just direct this at you, Sam, because you probably caught it up from other people. I've seen at least 3 to 4 people, and actually 2 of them, very knowledgeable in meteorology, talking about December 10th being a good analog. Like, buddy, there's like a 6-month gap between those two. That's like me saying an analog, well, I was gonna say that's like me saying an analog for May is an analog for something in December, but I mean you pretty much did that. It's from April to December. But yeah, that a super outbreak, Sam. There's no very real definition for it, but super outbreaks are extraordinarily rare, man. They are extraordinarily rare. We didn't have a single rated violent tornado. Yes, some of those tornadoes were most probable violent, but no tornadoes were actually rated violent for April 17th. And you don't get super outbreaks, but about once or twice a century. So, yeah, QLCS spam event and a few supercells that produced strong to maybe what do we have, like two intense tornadoes? That's definitely not going to be no super outbreak. Because some outlook was identical, they both had a moderate in the same place. Oh, well, if that's true, I mean, that's Twitter for you. Twitter will go posting these outlooks made by the GFS model run. So, like, I don't like that stuff. That stupid GFS thing that's been circulating around on Twitter is absolute garbage. Like, it is the worst thing possible. That sucker always has a moderate everywhere. I don't know if it's the one you're talking about. It probably is not. But there's like this one, well, actually few accounts, but one website that keeps posts that just keeps on consistently just showing moderate like everywhere. And it's consistently had like moderate risks where we barely even get severe weather. So you just gotta watch out. The only outlook you should listen to is the SPC. That's the only outlook you should listen to. Other outlooks, either they're blatant misinformation, they're model run outlooks, which are atrocious because that means they change every 3 to 6 hours, which means they're horrible, or they're people practicing. I am very much for people practicing their SPC outlooks. I love to see people practicing outlooks that are not like explicitly trying to copy the SPC. I've seen a few people who like leave the NOAA logo in. If you do make an outlook, make sure you don't have the NOAA logo in. The NOAA logo in. Make sure you don't have like their forecasters at the bottom left or anything like that. Make it your outlook. You don't want to make it look like you're endorsed by NOAA because that's illegal. Make sure you're not trying to make it look like you're the SPC. But there's a new site recently that came out that's used with AI, and people have been using that a lot. And it's not the SPC; it's a similar color coding, very close to the same as the Storm Prediction Center, where you have your general thunderstorm risk, marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, high, your 15% and day 30%. Day 4 through 8 outlooks, and you can do all that all on your own and keep updating it day to day. I'm all for that. I love that. And I would encourage people to post that as long as they blatantly say that it's unofficial. And there's a few accounts that I've really been following, and they're just like 16, 17-year-old weather enthusiasts making outlooks and putting them out on Twitter, and they do good. They do good. They're not getting a lot of views or anything like that, but their outlooks are good. And I think we need to not discourage that. As long as it's blatant, not official outlooks, I think that's a really good way to practice and learn what mistakes you made. Because that's the only way you're going to learn is to just practice. But unfortunately, a lot of the Twitter community will absolutely bombard you if you put out your own opinion. They will bombard you with hate if you put out your own opinion on the SPC or your own opinion on a severe weather threat. So, like I said, as long as you're blatantly saying that it's not official and it's clear that it's not official, and you put it in the tweet, I'm all for it. The problem is when when you start, trying to pretend like you're the Storm Prediction Center. You leave those logos in, and then, like I said, it becomes borderline or it actually is illegal. So just be careful, if you are the general public. I know we have some weather enthusiasts watching, and I know we have some people who are just concerned citizens and general public just watching this stream. The takeaway is it's best to stay off of Twitter, man. If you avoid Twitter, you're going to avoid 95% of the misinformation. The other percent of the misinformation comes from TikTok, and there is some on Facebook. Facebook's problem is AI generated misinformation. TikTok is interceptors and some misinformation. And then Twitter, like I said, is like 95% of your misinformation. If you literally just stay off of Twitter, you're going to find that you're going to be a lot more knowledgeable with weather, because there's so much misinformation on there that it'll get you confused. Getting slammed about December 10th. I mean, it's not a wise analog to choose, Like I said, you're talking about a once in a 100 plus year event in second season, and you're choosing that as an analog for an event in April. Not the best analog. Tornado talk is definitely not the best. I only know like two. I know like three or four creators on TikTok that are good weather enthusiasts on there. What analog would you say from Monday, TRG? I haven't looked into it. So I wouldn't be able to say. I would not be able to say. Let's see. Yeah, no, actually, like there will literally be people starting to use the RFSA over the SPC on Twitter, literally. That's a good way to spread misinformation right there, and also a good way to absolutely demolish your reputation and have absolutely nothing verified. Is that a tornado or a funnel? Yep, tornado touchdown. Look at that. I said it right on this scan. This was a shocking tornado warning. This was, like I said, an S-tier tornado warning from the National Weather Service in Omaha. And stupid me said they warned corruption because I'm that much of a dummy. And look at that. So I did mention, once I saw that scan, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a tornado ongoing. And there you go. First tornado of the day, western Iowa. That was almost, actually over an hour ago now. Yeah, the very first scan, when they first tornado warned this, the first scan looked like corruption. The second scan looked like it was dying. Third scan looked like, I believe, this. And then the fourth scan, this one. Fourth and fifth scan, those two were the tightest, where I was thinking a tornado was dropping. So very, very good warning from the National Weather Service in Omaha on that tornado warned storm from about an hour ago, a little over an hour ago. Very impressive lead time. Not too often you see that good of a lead time. Why would anyone spread misinformation online? A very unwise man. Most of the time, people don't realize they're spreading misinformation. Most of the time. But then you have those people that, go ahead and post the GFS model run and try to act like it's an official outlook or something. Or just simply posting AI imagery and trying to act like that's gospel and truth. So sometimes it's a genuine mistake. I mean, Sam, I'm not gonna lie, I saw that the super outbreak one. That's a little bit that's a little bit crazy. I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were smarter than that, to be honest with you. I'm pretty shocked you thought that was a super outbreak. Yeah, the only super outbreaks we've mentioned on this channel is 1974's super outbreak and 2011's super outbreak. So I'm pretty shocked that you thought that April 17th, 2026 was on the same level as April 27th, 2011. Because you seem pretty smart. You do. You seem quite smart. You seem like a good weather enthusiast. So I was pretty shocked when I saw that tweet. Hey, Sam, I had that moment today, dude, when I called that tornado warning, them warning corruption. So we all have those moments. And then you'll notice 5 minutes after that, I realized, oh man, I screwed up. That ain't corruption. That's about to be a tornado. So the big thing is here's my tip for you. 3 things. You made the mistake, right? Make sure that you have admitted that it's a mistake. Own up to that mistake. Second one is obviously, like I said with the first one, acknowledge that mistake. Second one, make sure you've apologized with it. Third one, it's in the past, let it be the past. Learn from your mistakes and let it be the past. Acknowledge your mistake, learn from it, let it be the past. Too many people on Twitter will keep bringing that up. I wouldn't be shocked if in 2 years you mention another analog and someone brings up the time that you used December 10th as an analog for a risk in April. So, yeah, if it's been a full day, let it be the past. I know, obviously, I'm the one who brought it up, though, so I apologize for bringing up that. But I was just scrolling through. I didn't expect to see that on your feed, okay? I didn't think you would say something like that, so that surprised me. But yeah, that was 2 days ago, so. Yeah, and if people still bring it up, what I did is, I got in some deep drama before on Twitter. That's why my replies are now to just people I follow. Because I'm on Twitter to learn about weather, not to get into drama. So, yeah, just you can mute people or block them if they start really lingering on it, which people will. I'm a very major overthinker as well. I overthink everything I say on live streams. Let's see. Chase one event, what would it be? What? Probably like any event? Shoot. That's hard. I would say off the top of my head, probably this is probably one that's not chosen much. May 20th, 2013 EF5, Moore, Oklahoma. There's definitely some older ones that are for sure better that I can't think of right now, but that EF5 was just it was just mind-blowingly historic and just insane in every way. And by far one of the most notable recent EF5 tornadoes in the last 30 years to go through a very populated area. Another close one would be Joplin, but I think more. I don't know how rain-wrapped Joplin was. I feel like Joplin was very rain-wrapped. Very sloppy. So I think more would probably be the one for me. If I could chase any event. But there's so many events that I would love to have chased. Nothing from 2011. Nothing from 2011. Despite how historic 2011 was, none of it would be anywhere close to... I would probably have like 50 other choices before I chose anything from 2011. Like I said, Joplin would might be one of the first tours I would choose from 2011, but I'm like 100% sure because I remember seeing radar imagery from the Joplin tornado that thing was full rain wrapped. You know what? Another one I just thought of. What were those twins? Like twin EF3s or twin EF4s or something like that. Um, Dodge City, Kansas? Was it 2016, 2018? Something like that? Could be completely dead wrong. But that also would be Pilger. Pilger. See, I'm thinking Dodge City. Pilger. There you go. I'm dead wrong with that. Pilger, yes. Those. Pilger twins. Man, you guys know way more about past weather than me. I ain't got good memory, man. Man, practically everybody in the chat just said Pilger. I'm over here in Kansas. I think Pilger twins would... That might be number one, actually. Dodge City 2016 was the EF2, EF3 triplets. So there was twins to triplets in Dodge City 2016 or 18. You said 2016 in that case. That was probably the one I was thinking of, but no, the one I would probably put at 1 or 2 would be Pilger, actually. El Reno? Heck no. 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 Heck no, bro. I would stay away from El Reno. If you choose El Reno, you're a different breed, man. See, April 26th, 2024, that's one that I think could be an underdog. That definitely could be one of those events that I would go back and chase. June 24th, 1967 in northern France. Okay, well, that's not, I don't really know any tornadoes from over there, so not sure how crazy that would be. I don't know a single notable tornado from across the U.S. outside of the U.S. and Canada. I know some from Canada, and pretty much all the others are U.S. I really don't know any others outside of that. Charles, thank you for the $4.94 donation. Very specific donation right there. Jackson Center, Ohio, Monday. 3/31/23 Super Outbreak. I'm not sure if that's you questioning if it's a repeat of it, but first off, March 31st, 2023 was not a super outbreak, although it was definitely one of the more widespread notable outbreaks, similar to just as widespread and notable as March 14th, 2025. Neither of those are super outbreaks officially. As for what you'll see, you said Monday. I don't think you're seeing severe weather Monday. You got a marginal tomorrow. That might be about as good of a risk for severe weather as you're going to get. You have a marginal tomorrow. That is Friday. Just isolated 50, 60 mile an hour winds, half-inch hail. Can't fully rule out a brief tornado, but tornado risk is very low. Day 3, yeah, well away from Ohio. Day 4, well away. Day 5, well away. Day 6, not present. Day 5 is close, but well away. So I think tomorrow's your best chance for severe weather. Outside of that, maybe something towards the very end of April or beginning of May. But for roughly the next week or so, tomorrow's definitely your best chance for severe weather. Watching this storm here easily could warrant a tornado warning if it does continue to intensify and move off to the northeast. Not an imminent tornado on that yet. Most proud forecast of all time. Off stream, I talked with one of my friends and talked about the potential for a high-end, moderate, or even a high risk on April 26th, 2024. I predicted that very, very well. One of my friends and I were talking about even the potential for a high risk on that day being needed. And then the SPC kept it enhanced, and it ended up producing multiple intense plus tornadoes. That is the most notable S tier forecast that I've done off stream. Truly shocked me when we went live and there still wasn't a moderate in place there. MCD in Oklahoma. Ooh. How far south we talking in this one? See how far south it goes. Into northern Texas. Tornado watch possible. Conditional severe risk across central Oklahoma, northwest Texas. If storms develop, very large hail and tornadoes possible through evening. Let's see. Tornado watch may be needed for portions of Oklahoma and northern Texas in the next few hours. Trends will be monitored for a tornado watch in the next few hours. Conditional risk will be very supportive for large or very large hail and a tornado or two, as well as severe wind gusts. Let's see. Most CAM guidance suggests at least 1 or 2 attempts at convective initiation anywhere from the Red River towards central Oklahoma, generally in the 22 to 02Z time frame, roughly 2 hours and on from now. This risk is very conditional. Very conditional risk. Reload. Fresh, refresh. Alright, let's just go look at this one. I'll try it one more time. Dang it. Yeah, there you go. That's where that MCD is located. Like I said, the SPC shocked me not going moderate on April 26th, 2024. Same reason on how I was quite shocked they didn't go high risk. Once stuff started popping off, it looked more and more likely of a high risk being issued, and then that 4 o'clock update rolled around and it was still moderate. That shocked me that they didn't go high for March 14th, 2025. But April 26th, 2024 was probably the most shocked I ever was about there not being a moderate or greater. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to get every risk dead on, so it very easily could have just over convected and then not much would have ended up happening on that day. But I remember I was busy in the early afternoon, and then I came up here near like noon or so, and we had like a big wedge tornado on the ground in Nebraska, before well removed from that primary risk in eastern Nebraska on April 26, 2024. And that was one of the early signs that, yep, this is going to be a long day. When you got a wedge tornado on the ground in the early afternoon, well removed from the primary risk area, you know it's going to be rough. But yeah, like I said, SPC can't be perfect. Alrighty, there we go. March 15th was still rough, but yeah, March 14th, if you put it side by side, talk about verification, March 14th probably would have verified more as a high risk than March 15th. And then comparing severe events back to back, March 14th performed much better in terms of just way more widespread tornado threat than March 15th. And just the event as a whole performed significantly better. Yeah, March 15th definitely wasn't a bust, but like the northeast side of March 15th, 2025, the high risk didn't verify. So it was a pretty severe underperformance for northern Alabama, but it wasn't a bust. Too far north on Monday? Nah. No, I don't think so. The most likely area for them to expand is to the southeast. I mentioned it earlier. They could expand a little bit more to the southeast. But there's question marks on how far north that warm sector is going to go. So if that warm sector is favorable, I mean, that 30% could extend all the way up into central Iowa. So right now they're in between, you know, they're dead center. They're the most likely area to get severe weather right now is right at that 30%, but they very easily could expand it further off to the north. Or if the warm sector trends to be more south, they could start pushing it a bit more off to the southeast. So I think this is a good middle ground for their day 5 outlook right now. I like it. I think they did a good job with this day 5 outlook. I 100% agree with that. Like I said, a little too far out to push that enhanced too far to the northwest with that warm sector uncertainty. And then same goes for to the southeast, because if your trough is more north, your main threat will be in this enhanced risk area pointing north. If the trough is more south, that enhanced needs to be pushed south. So good middle ground right there. That's typically what the SBC tries to do on their day 4 through 8 outlooks. Once you get to day 3, they try to narrow it down more. Day 2, they try to get very specific. And then day 1, they really, really narrow it down. Quiet, Jake. Quiet. We don't talk about that. If we ignore it, we won't notice it. Day 1 is like, oh, shoot. I forgot about the day 1 outlook. Earlier today on the SBC site, they were very late. It was like 40 minutes late. Ah, shoot. This one was early. Yeah, they issued their outlook almost 30 minutes ago, y'all. 30 minutes ago, their outlook was issued on IEM bot. But they've been slow today. You can see here, it's not out. But they kept it enhanced, as we were thinking. The slight risk was expanded more to the north and more to the west. And I don't see any notable changes on the east side. So it looks like they expanded the slight a bit to the west and a bit to the north. So it's out on IEM bot, but you can't actually see the probabilities yet. And it took them 40 minutes to fix that. Like the day 1 outlook came out at like 16:30Z, and then we didn't get it until like almost or roughly around 1 o'clock. I forgot. All I know is that it was like a 30 to 40 minute delay today. Yeah, it's not out on the website yet, because normally I get a notification of it issued by the Storm Prediction Center, and I only got the notification from IEM bot, which means it's not out on the SBC site. I think people be hyping that southern mode a little bit too much. I mean, 66 dews, 83 temps. I think people going a little bit too haywire on the southern mode over here. We'll see. We'll see if anything initiates out there. If it does, it's going to be close to 7, 8 o'clock. Right around 7. So 41 minutes ago, they did the day 3 outlook. Did we get that? Okay, we did get the day 3 outlook. So there's your day 2. We already looked at that. I think they added a hatched hail risk. Day 3 outlook looks close to the same, but I don't exactly remember exactly how it looked. Still looks like an egg. A couple tornadoes possible. Very large hail possible. Damaging windsalt possible. Potentially a couple tornadoes, especially near the remnant boundary, will be possible. Some upscale growth will be possible. Gracious, a lot of possible. Into the evening, with the potential for organized clustered, or an MCS to move southward, south-southeastward along the instability gradient towards parts of the Arklatex and potentially lower Mississippi Valley before weakening. The evolution could be accompanied by an increasing damaging wind threat along with isolated hail and or tornado potential with any embedded supercells. Farther to the south, a conditionally favorable environment will be in place along and east of the effective dry line from southwestern Oklahoma into Texas. Despite lack of notable large-scale ascent, isolated storms could still develop with weakening cap due to heating. Let's see. Any storms that can mature within this environment could evolve into supercells with large to very large hail potential. The marginal risk has been expanded. So there you go. They did change something. Marginal risk was expanded to the southwest across Texas, where some global and extended CAM guidance shows a signal for sustained development during the late afternoon. Still no SPC outlook. Low-key, a little annoying. You know, I don't want to. I'm not gonna fuss much, but I mean, this sucker's almost 40 minutes late over here. It's over 30 minutes late now. But yeah, it seems like they might be having a bit of an issue because they pushed out that tornado watch twice. They pushed out their SPC outlook twice. And now this outlook is 30 minutes late after it's already been out. It's apparently been out on IEMBot for 31 minutes now. And we still don't have it on the actual SPC website. So, yeah, SPC problems today. East side of the risk today? What do you mean by that? Like this part in here? Over in here? Even up into Minnesota, northern Wisconsin there, but I mean the east part of the outlook rarely gets anything extraordinarily significant if it's the east part of like a marginal or the far east part of a slight. I don't think much will happen. The only area I'd be watching in the east part of this outlook is back here in Oklahoma and Missouri. That's a portion of the eastern side of the outlook I'd be interested in. Like I said, I haven't really looked much back up here into Wisconsin. Just a lot of damaging winds. Some very small hail, maybe a brief tornado up here. A lot of 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts in Minnesota, western Wisconsin, but everything gets all slop-fested. You can see tonight there might be a risk for some isolated damaging winds embedded inside of the slop fest going towards just after 1 a.m. But once again, this is all very isolated damaging winds until you get to Oklahoma where it could be a little bit more widespread. New HRRR coming in. That initiates central Kansas here within the hour. Already seeing some scattered initiation out there right now. Look at that. SPC didn't issue the outlook. Air Force place in Illinois did. Oh. Really? You're right. They sure did. Interesting. So there definitely is some type of issues at the SPC. Some type of issue. So maybe some sort of transmitting issue. But definitely something. So yeah, we're gonna wait to see if the SPC outlook comes out here in the next few minutes, and then we'll probably split this up into maybe two coverages here. Waiting to see this new HRRR. Yeah, you can see the HRRR really explodes at like 5:30, 6 o'clock across Kansas. So I'd imagine I have a good chance of coming back here tonight. We're not going to end just yet. I want to see if the SPC outlook comes out soon, but we're going to end so I could take like an hour or two break, and then I'll probably come back for coverage when these storms starts to get a bit more destructive, and we start increasing with that tornado potential. Just so that way I'm not live all day. It really takes a toll on me, even though today is my rest day technically. I still gotta exercise a little bit. Still gotta take care of yourself on these bigger days for severe weather, and I didn't get a chance to do that this morning. So, hoping to fit in an hour or two break in here. Day 5, enhanced is perfectly placed. I mean, it's literally like the bullseye. It's like dead center. So, yeah, it's literally like perfect placement. That's like almost the most symmetrical outlook right there. Maybe except from the northwest side in here. Looks very symmetrical. Yeah, Monday did go quite considerably more north. It definitely did. Not very far north, but you know, on some of our new runs like the 12ZHRRR or 12ZHRRR, 12ZGFS, which 18Z should come through here, should start rendering in maybe 40 minutes or so. That definitely was pushing more north if you look at the comparison. I mean, this really had the main area kind of focusing down in here. Look like the main region, and maybe another area towards the warm front in central Illinois, northern Indiana. And then the model run exactly 24 more hours after that. It looks like it's really, really painting the picture in here. But like I said, that enhanced could go all the way back up into central Iowa, too. It just depends on how we trend here, because there's definitely some differences. But, I mean, you could see the 12Z GEFS ensembles definitely shows that the main risk area is at least where they have that enhanced risk at. If not, they still need to expand it a little bit more to the southeast and a little bit more to the northwest for the greatest severe potential. But morning convection definitely looks like it could be something that ends up wiping out the warm sector in portions of our risk area. So I think severe weather is likely regardless on Monday, but the extent of how far north is big time questioning on that morning convection. Because that morning convection and the timing of that trough is going to be everything. The morning convection, I think, is going to be something that's we're going to have to watch the most, and then the timing of the trough is a very close second. Gracious. 35% on my quiz. I literally didn't even study. Bro. Caleb. Come on, bro. Just lock in and study, man. That would be that'd be unacceptable. You were in my position. I barely got B's. I was mainly straight A. Very rare occasions would I get Bs. Extraordinarily rare. I don't think I ever got an F. I don't even think I ever got a C or a D. I think I had very select few Bs and mostly all A's or A pluses. I can't recall ever getting C's, D's, or F's ever. If I did, it was probably like between like 4th and 6th grade, when I don't recall a lot. The smarter you are, the dumber you are. What? I don't think that's how it works, buddy. I don't think that's how it works. Look at that crazy left mover right there in Oklahoma, South Central Oklahoma. Right, that's a left mover right there, guys. Nah. You could see that it doesn't really do anything until it cell splits, though. When it cell splits and this actually becomes a left mover and then this becomes a right mover, that's when it becomes a problem. If that were to come to fruition, we're definitely looking at a strong to intense tornado threat. I'd say an intense tornado threat quite easily. So, yeah, we'll need to watch that. They already put out their SPC outlook on, again, IAM bot, but no probs on it yet. Here comes the probs. Here comes the probabilities. So we should get an update within the next 10 minutes on here. There you go. They had to reissue the whole thing. But yeah, literally 40, it took them 41 minutes. 40 to 41 minutes to issue it. This is for today's outlook, but it's not yet updated. Yeah. Yeah, right after sunset could be a problem in southern Oklahoma. I wonder if they put a sig to like 2% out there. Nope. I didn't. Nope. Looks like everything stayed the same except for that little west to northwest extension. Is a sig 2% impossible? I don't think so. I think it's sig 3 or 2% sig 3 that's impossible. Yeah, no. Sig 2% Tor is a slight risk. I think it's sig 3 2%. That's impossible. Severe thunderstorms are expected to develop this afternoon and evening from southern through the central plains and into Minnesota and into the lower mid-Missouri Valley and upper Mississippi Valley. Tornadoes, large hail, and severe wind gusts will all be possible. Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, into northern Oklahoma, perhaps a couple tornadoes. Sounds like 10 sig wording right there, huh? Conditionally very large hail initially, and then possibly the potential of an evening tornado threat with any sustained storms along the dry line in Oklahoma. So they gave Oklahoma a special discussion right here. They specifically gave Oklahoma dry line a special discussion. Special discussion right there. New MD. Let's go check that out. Oh, it's a black MCD. Don't see those too often. Not really sure what they mean, but Basically, they're just saying the potential for increasing severe weather is expected here. Let's go back to weather-wise. Mini, 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 mo. Which one is it? There you go. So there's your MCD, which is actually a black MCD on the SPC site. A corridor of increasing severe potential is expected across Kansas over the next 2 to 3 hours. Very large hail to 3.5 inches in diameter and tornadoes possible. Deepening convection is noted along and just east of a surface boundary from said county to another 2 counties in central to east central Kansas. Let's see. This convection is developing within 2,500 joules per kilogram of mixed layer instability. Very steep mid-level lapse rates. 19Z WOFIS data shows a swath of 2.5 to 3.5 inch hail potential with this corridor through 23Z. This corridor appears most favorable for very large hail and tornado potential in the very short term of 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, I mean, 45.6 barely on that, though. Let's go look at WOFIS. We ain't looked at WOFIS today. WOFIS. Let's see. April 22nd? April 23rd. Why was WOFIS running yesterday? Am I crazy? Why has WOFIS been running Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today? Today's the only one that makes sense. Why has it been running the last 3 days? Yeah. This stuff's wrong because it's already 4:30 and this is what it says we're seeing right now. And we're like not. So looks like WOFIS is already wrong. WOFIS 1 wrong. WOFIS 2, 3. Oops, 3 might be a bit better. 5 might be the best. Ooh, 9 looks pretty good too, though. See what WOFIS 9 says. WOFIS 9. That gets everything going a little bit later. About 30 minutes from now. WOFIS 5. About 30 minutes from now. So, yeah, that's going to be your, by far, your greatest short-term severe threat. Some of these WOFIS runs initiate in central Oklahoma already. At like 5:30. So definitely a good severe threat. I want to go to your paintball reflectivity, though. Yeah, that's definitely a good corridor. Very clearly, you can see your greatest corridor of large hail potential here in Kansas over the next 30 minutes or so. And then you can see another corridor later tonight, closer to 6 o'clock, across southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma. And then you can see on the very bottom of the screen, there's definitely a chance for initiation in south central Oklahoma as well. But I'm going to probably hop right back on here in like 2 hours or so. So stay, make sure you got the notification bell set to all so you know when I go live again. There's probably going to be a few severes and maybe a tornado warning or 2 that I end up missing. But I do plan to come back on here. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream channel with your family, friends, social media. Consider hitting that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all. I would just stay here, but I feel like it's better for me to go and do some things for an hour or 2 and then come back on here when everything starts popping off closer to 6 o'clock, maybe a little later. So expect a live stream around or a little later than 6 o'clock. I'll be monitoring it closely, and I'm planning to come back here later on tonight. But yeah, I think that's really the main stuff to go over. We could go look at the SPC mesoanalysis real quick. 4 o'clock update. We got a little bit more time here before I want to end. It'd be great if this could actually load. And there's your supercell composite. So your dry line is still right back in here, moving east. So if storms do initiate in Oklahoma, it would definitely be towards southern Oklahoma, maybe barely central Oklahoma here in the next 2 hours. But I really think that it's going to be closer to 3 hours from now. That storms start to fire. Wophus is thinking a little bit sooner. Is the NAM 3K? Okay, NAM 3K's in. And that initiates at 7 o'clock. That's what I'm thinking. 7 o'clock or later is what I'm thinking here. I don't think we'll see initiation in Oklahoma at 5 to where I have to come back on here in like 30 minutes. I think it's going to be right as this gets very narrow. Once this gets very narrow, this 60-degree, see how you have the green, which is in your mid-50s, and the blue, which is in your low 60s? Once that gets very narrow at 7, 8 o'clock, I think that's your best chance for initiation. Which you could see, there's 7 o'clock, and the HRRR starts initiation right there. And elsewhere, lower level wind shear still remains fairly low, but in the short term, definitely wouldn't rule out a brief tornado or two up in here. And then we'll have to watch how this stuff evolves. This definitely has a question mark on it, since those showers have already started a little bit sooner than I was expecting. But yeah, I mean, just the elevated temperatures, dew points here makes me a bit more uncertain on that tornado threat today. I know I trash talked it a little bit, but I do want to go see NATO cast again. See if 18Z is in for that. Nope. Still no 18Z in. No 18Z GFS either. So yeah, if we start getting like a few destructives, I'll hop back on here. And once we start really seeing initiation across like Oklahoma, central Kansas, in terms of more well-defined supercells, I'll probably get back on here. Like I said, sometime probably after 6. Or very close to that. So after this live stream, what I'm probably going to do is just set up a live stream for 7 o'clock right away. So right after this live stream's done, give me like 5 minutes and I'll have another live stream planned for 7 p.m. Because that seems to be 7 o'clock seems to be probably when everything's going to be exploding the most. These things might be very well considerable and destructive severes before we go live. We'll just have to see. Oh, this MCD. Also want to show y'all this. There you go. Increasing potential for significant severe storms next couple of hours. So, again, a few tornadoes, maybe one strong, but the primary threat will be 70 to 80 mile an hour winds, 2 to 3.5 inch hail. I'll look at Wophus one more time too, because I know the new Wophus was coming in there. Six o'clock might be a little bit too early for me. It depends how fast I can eat food and get food ready. So this is the new Wophus run. They still, just a few show Oklahoma in this one, not as many show well discrete supercells there. but definitely significant severe weather. What's for dinner? I'll find out when I get out there, man. I have no idea. I have no idea. But vastly different runs that show vastly different scenarios for tonight. So that's why I'm just going to plan it for 7 and just kind of wing it. But alrighty. That's going to be it for me, y'all. I appreciate you tuning in. I will see y'all later tonight for sure. We'll see you later tonight. Really, regardless what happens, I'll go live again. 7 o'clock is what we're planning right now. 7 Eastern. And outside of that, if you don't want to tune into the live stream tonight, I will be live again tomorrow. Tomorrow, Thursday? We'll probably be live about 6 o'clock tomorrow, which is Friday. Is today freaking Friday or not? Why am I getting so mixed up? Today's Thursday. Yeah, so if I don't see y'all tonight at 7 o'clock, if you don't tune into the live stream, which we should be live roughly about 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, if I don't see you then I'll see you tomorrow at roughly 6 p.m. That's Friday. Saturday, I'm not sure about yet because that's a lot of uncertainty. So most likely live stream tonight at or just after 7 Eastern, and then definitely a live stream tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm going to go ahead and head off for 2 hours or so. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll see you guys in roughly 2 hours or so from now. Make sure to stay hyper weather aware out there. Biggest threat is going to be hail and damaging winds, but I'll try to be back before anything gets too insane. Just want to take a quick break so that way I'm all energized for tonight, just in case those storms in Oklahoma do end up popping off. So take yourself a little break. Go get some dinner if you haven't already, or if not, go get a snack. Get up, walk around, do something. Do something like me. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. I still got 40 seconds to ramble on here, so I don't know what else to ramble on about. Well, we did get a new MCD up for Minnesota and Wisconsin. Potential for a brief tornado, 55 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, and 1 to 1.75 inch hail possible up there in Minnesota with those severe storms. So pretty low end severe weather up in Minnesota. Not nearly as big of a tornado threat as back down here into Kansas and Oklahoma. There you go. That was my rant. Quick rant. Thank you, mods, for modding chat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll see you guys at or just after 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Goodbye. stay safe, watch the severe weather, and I'll see you guys later on tonight. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Mods for Mod and Chat, and everyone for being here. Good.